Welcome to the Breaking the Coconut Show. With the birth of new businesses and entrepreneurs springing up, the cost of setting up offices is still a major challenge. New businesses have moved from owning offices to co-workspaces, which makes it affordable for new startups and entrepreneurs. This episode takes a journey into the life of one of the key stakeholders in the Nigerian tech ecosystem, Olufunbi Falayi, as he shares his coconut story of how he is reinventing the workspace with his brand of Co-workspace and opportunities available.
Hi, my name is Olufunbi Falayi. I'm a co-founder of Passion Incubator. Passion Incubator invests and supports tech startups in Nigeria. And I'm also the CEO of Lead Space, which is a spin-off of Passion Incubator. It's a shared workspaces. And we intend to become the biggest chain of co-working spaces in Africa.
Okay, good. Now you give us two CEOs, meaning you run two companies.
Like I said, Lead Space is a spin-off. It's a business unit under Passion Incubator, and so I run that full time, and I also oversee some of the activities in Passion Incubator.
Okay, good. Now, for me, why we had you here was that normally on Latest Issue we have millennials in this part of the world who are making impact, and we've looked at your trajectory and seen the little impact, even though you don't accept you've made so much, you've made in this space, and I would like you to tell us how your own journey has been coming that far.
So I started my career in 2009 as a product analyst for an IT company in Ikeja, and I grew to lead the CSR team where we deployed software and computer solutions to public schools in Ikeja and environs. From there, I found myself in an incubator, social entrepreneurship incubator in India. While I was there, I started to think about how I wanted to use entrepreneurship and technology as a tool to reduce youth unemployment, which at the time was around 24%. I spent some time doing research. We're working closely with the National Skill Development Corporation of India in Delhi, trying to understand how the Indian government leverage technology and entrepreneurship as a tool to reduce unemployment in India. And I learned a lot through that process. I reached out to my very good friend who used to work at HP then in the US to think about how we could leverage our technology expertise and our passion for entrepreneurship to do the same in Nigeria. So I moved back to Nigeria. He joined me later and started Passion Incubator. From there, we've supported startups in Nigeria. We've invested in a couple. Now we launched Passion Incubator. We have a fund, also a pool of fund, where when we find opportunities, we find startups that we think are going to be commercially viable and solve real problems based on our focus sectors. We invest. And for Lead Space, we realized that majority of the investment we make and those who also raise elsewhere spend over 60% of that investment on infrastructure. Infrastructure in this case is office space, internet access, and power.
Yeah.
And we started to solve that problem, and that's where we started Lead Space.
Okay, now I know your story to an extent, yes, and I'll be going back to when you had to go do your short course in Delhi in India, and we live in a social era where most people finally, most of the things that work in this era has triggered more with the internet. Could you tell us how you were able to, I think I like that part, how you were able to yes, grow from NYSC, follow your own passion and dreams, and you were able to connect. What was that missing link for you?
So while I was working as a product analyst in the IT company, when I got out of school, we were building a software solution to help automate processes in schools. And at the time, startups was still at a very infancy stage in Nigeria. It was big IT companies building solutions, and we were one of them. While we were deploying that solution in secondary schools, we realized the missing link. The people were building a solution, people were not able to use it. And the thing is, in my mind, I'm thinking how when people build solutions and no one is using it, there has to be a fundamental problem. And so I wanted to see how I could use my own expertise in technology to kind of solve some of these fundamental problems, and I didn't know how. I didn't know how at the time. So when I saw the opportunity I did the project in secondary school, which is, I don't want to talk about in detail. I launched the project to help equip secondary school students in IT, train them on IT, on how to use basic, IT tools. The project was very impactful, and I was invited to India to a social entrepreneurship incubator to earn my own skills also. And then during that process,
that project led you.
That particular project, equipping secondary school students in IT, basic project management, and how they can look inwards in their school, public school students, and solve, problems in their immediate environment without relying on the government. And I put the documentary on YouTube, but then it got a lot of attention, and I went to India. I'm just answer your question, but so for me, I just thought about it, and I'm like, I have these skills, I have the entrepreneurial knowledge, I have the IT background, and I know that, so I believe so much in technology, and I know that technology will help make a lot of sectors, processes, and very effective. But in my mind, I'm like, how do we equip other young people with this kind of opportunities to be able to do the things that they want to do? How do you equip young people with the opportunity to look inwards and look at their environment? But I say, this is a big problem. It's one thing to identify the problem. It's another thing to be able to create solutions to solve those problems. And that's where the missing link is. So starting an incubator was to give people with the skills to allow them to solve those problems, having the right skills to solve those problems that they've identified and use solutions for them.
What I would like you to know, you're a key stakeholder in this sector. Yes. And two questions I have for you. One is, you've been in this. One was that I'm impressed. I've been looking at who finally has the key formula on how to run a co-workspace in Lagos, Nigeria. And it's obvious that most of them start with excitement, and after a while, somehow most of them fizzle out. And I've seen you work with Idea Hub, and I've seen Idea Hub be like your own training ground, and you've worked with young startups, and you've seen them evolve. And the first question I'm asking you is, how are you able to, yes, it's not yet Uhuru yet, but how are you able to come up with a formula for you able to now start creating a different version? You have a space in Java, and I heard you guys are moving from Java to somewhere else, meaning there's progress. How are you able to come up with that formula? And what's the formula like for having a workable co-creation hub? An idea, something like a co-workspace in Lagos, Nigeria.
So we started with Passion Incubator. Before I worked with Idea, Passion Incubator existed. That was when we were also learning. We're also learning the ropes on how to work effectively with startups. And then we did that. I joined Idea to be able to help, help support, the Idea structure. One of the things that we learned, it's an ongoing learning process.
Yeah.
For co-working space, well, I mean, I can't speak for other co-working spaces, but for us, we understand what the fundamental, what is needed fundamentally to run a successful co-working space. We also remember, we look at the successful ones like WeWork, Co-works in India, and the other big ones, and see the value they bring to the table beyond just chair and internet. For us, we feel like chairs and internet are like fundamental business rights. Okay. Businesses should have them anyway. In Nigeria, they don't. I mean, because of the economy that we come from, we understand that reality. But on top of that, we want to be able to bring some other value, because when you give entrepreneurs chairs and internet, after 3 months, they want more. There's something that, there has to be more that you give to the table that makes them excited to want to stay. Yeah. And for us, we already know, because we've run incubators, we've partnered with international incubators, we understand what the support that entrepreneurs need. So we layer that on top of the infrastructure that we give to entrepreneurs. So beyond the chairs and internet, an enabling environment, right? Make it as collaborative as possible. Expose the entrepreneurs to opportunities, both local and international opportunities, like hackathons, competitions. They are the first ones to have access before we share it to the outer community.
So what you're saying is that your normal co-workspace is not Comwork. You have, because you understand that all of them are young budding entrepreneurs. You have something else apart from pay for your workspace.
Yeah, we build. So we do. We have our happy hour event every last Friday of the month that brings both members and non-members together to co-create, to look at, to table their problems and work together and create solutions for those problems and build long-lasting relationships. Because of the Passion Incubator and where we do joint programs with other incubators across the world or with corporates or government, we see that opportunity and then we expose it to our members also to be part of it. That's part of what they pay for. So it's not just the space. And that's why I keep saying that, we see the likes of WeWork and Co-work. People in that environment have internet and power in their houses anyway, right? Why do they have to leave to a co-working space? There's something more than those infrastructure. It's the enabling environment. It's, you want to look to your right and you see a developer who's ready to help. You want to look to your left, you want to see a legal advisor who's ready to help. Is that environment that allows you to successful to go from 0 to 1? For some people, they're even established. They are still there. They want to be there. So we've seen startups grow from 3-man team to 15-man team in our space in the space of 3 months, right? So that's kind of the things we've said. So I don't know, like I said, I don't know how other co-working spaces operate. In our own space, that's how we see the vision. And then we also want to be able to set up more locations across the country so that we can distribute the opportunity for other entrepreneurs who are looking for an enabling environment to grow. So then we are looking at Oniro, we are looking at Owerri, we are looking at Ilorin. Those places are already we are tying up the deals there to be able to spread out.
We're in an era where entrepreneurship looks like a trend. Let me say it's a trend. But the downside of it is that we've also had people that have also cashed out easily. And I'm asking this normal cliche question. Why would you say normal startups fail with your experience in the ecosystem and looking at tech, for instance? You're not telling me what they told you. I'm telling you, tell me from your experience, from Idea Hub to Passion Incubator. What would you say is that missing link that finally most entrepreneurs that start with so much of passion finally burn out along the way?
Right now, entrepreneurship we all know that it's going to be one of the key drivers to taking maybe Nigeria out of recession or, reduce youth unemployment. Let me put it that way. And young people are very excited about the passion is there. Young people really want to build businesses. The question is, how truthful are these young people who want to build businesses? Is it because is entrepreneurship there because people are unemployed or because people are really passionate about entrepreneurship? There's a difference. And so when people want to go into business, the question is, are you ready to be there for the long haul? Through the thick and thin, because entrepreneurship is not that, it comes with its own challenges.
It looks sexy outside.
Yeah, well, it looks sexy outside, but you must be able to grind.
True. Right?
Because so we almost shut down. To be honest, we almost shut down Passion Incubator operations. Our startups were doing well, but we had to struggle with turning on the lights. So for us, we had to look for other means to diversify our income stream to be more sustainable. Because some other entrepreneurs, they would have probably shut down and probably moved on. So the question here is, are people really passionate about what they're trying to do? And if they're passionate about what they're trying to do they really understand that space? Do they understand the trend to keep them going, to keep the fire burning, to keep the hope there? That even if there are rough patches, they see the light, they could see the light and could see that all they need to do is to stay committed to their dream, committed. And sometimes people build stuff that are not ready, that the market is not ready for
yet.
So having that staying power, looking at that environment, so you will only know when you understand the sector you're trying to play. So one of the reasons why people start with that level of enthusiasm and then die is probably because either they were not really passionate about that idea.
For me, is it passion? Sometimes most people that are very passionate finally I figured out that at times passion takes you to point B. There's where you get to and this is passion stops working here. And I'm like, it has happened consistently. So much fire and suddenly there's silence.
So it's a journey. First of all, you need that motivation, that passion. But at that point, you need to move to understanding the market, understanding the space that you play. So there's only how far passion will take you, but reality will set in at some point. And that's where you need to ask yourself if you have what it takes, the skill set to stay as an entrepreneur, right? So you're right, passion, and then you need to start thinking about the skills that allow you to stay as an entrepreneur and how you want to grow as an entrepreneur. For most people will say it's capital, right? But the thing is, how do you attract capital if you don't show if you don't really show what you have. So how do you build your solution to the point that people can see the value or the solution you are building? And it's a natural phenomenon. You attract funding, right? So so there are a lot of reasons why people shut down, to be honest. And I can't really, I don't have the solution. I don't have but these are just one of the many reasons, right? There's funding issues. There are people who have team problems. The market is probably not ready, or people didn't understand the market. A bunch of many reasons why people shut down.
Okay. Now let me come to the very normal one. We keep comparing Silicon Valley to Yaba, Lagos, and I think normally sometimes I think it's unfair. Sometimes I think it's unfair, but I think it's also aspiring. But from you that have, I was able to watch some couple of days where the key stakeholders in the Yaba ecosystem had a kind of town hall meeting, and there was like a roadmap on making Yaba, what do you call it?
A cluster.
A cluster.
An ecosystem.
Yeah. So what would you see? What would you see as on that journey to making the comparison of Lagos, Yaba, Silicon Valley, and what would you see that journey entails for everyone before we finally see this is finally it will go to rural?
So let me make this clear. There's nothing wrong with comparing Yaba with Silicon Valley. Absolutely nothing wrong. But we need to understand that they had two different realities. And Yaba, as it is today, has its own challenges. And people have said a lot about how big startups have left Yaba, the Kongas, the Andela. The issue, one of the reasons why they left is not because Yaba is not a cluster, but because of the issue of space. So the challenges that Yaba faces today, the infrastructure challenges, right? The issue of talent is there. But what makes Yaba a cluster interesting in the first place is because of the higher institutions around there. You have Yaba Tech, you have Unilag, you have the School of Education. And I just found out during the weekend that it has over 60 secondary schools, right? Awesome. And so Yaba in itself will be a cluster, but it has to be a deliberate effort, very deliberate effort to get us there. During our analysis of how we could improve infrastructure, we thought about, how do you, Yaba does not have any recreational facility that keeps people together to be able to co-create, apart from the ops themselves, right? Yaba accommodation is very expensive. So how do you keep people there in that cluster to be able to, and I understand that Silicon Valley is expensive too, but again, I don't want us to compare them together the same way. For Yaba, if you majority of the people, of the talent that move to Yaba, people who are probably fresh out of school, limited funding, limited income, they need to be able to live in a space where it's low cost.
Yaba, very passionate.
And Yaba is still expensive when it comes to space or living an accommodation or even office space, right? So all of these things are one of the reasons why when people come, they have to leave. Konga left because that space, I assume, because the space, they were expanding rapidly, and in that space, there was no space for them to expand to, and then they moved to Yaba. Andela, I know, moved because of space. They moved into a very massive. That's one of the issues. There are issues of, again, infrastructure, power. We know there's fiber in Yaba, but what about last mile? Last mile internet to the companies that exist in Yaba is still expensive. So the fiber is there. How many startups can afford the internet right there? We say we pay a lot of money to be connected to the internet, to have internet access. We pay a lot of money. So the challenges are there, the infrastructure problems are there, and there's this issue of collaboration, where we're still struggling with people being open, people collaborating, startups working together. Why go solo? How about people can be a merger where people solve the same problem with solutions that they build independently. So a lot of issues. It could be cultural issue. It could be that we're not even telling our stories the right way. There's a bunch of issues so that's why I don't want to talk too much about Silicon Valley. Right? Silicon Valley is a good model to look up to, but we also need to look at our own immediate and then our local reality.
Would you finally see on your journey that you've broken your own coconut? No. See, I won't give you metrics. You own your metrics. but you look at yourself, and I'll say this, one of the reasons why I had to get here is that when we don't tell our stories, when we don't really tell our stories, most times, most people assume. And the idea of sharing, having a platform like this is to really get people that I think have finally paid their dues. And because I say people die at 25, people die at 30, but somehow we don't really have the real story. What we have is the surface story where everybody likes the sexy one, everybody likes the sexy entrepreneur, but somehow I've seen that most of us finally had paid our dues in ways that people are now aware of. And now till forever, there will still be entrepreneurs. And I think we need to tell that part of the story. So would you say with your own metrics that you finally broken your own coconut?
No.
Why?
So I'm very invested in, I'm very passionate about helping businesses grow. We've seen a couple grow, and I feel like we're not there yet. Personally, we're still, it's not like these companies have grown to become very successful companies. So for that reason, I don't think that I've broken the coconut yet. I feel like I will break my own personal coconut until I see that some of the companies that we've invested in have grown to other regions and become very successful.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, now, interesting. Now you're going to say breaking the coconut in your dialect.
I'm very terrible with that. So.
See, we love terrible, so give us terrible, your version of terrible. So, breaking a coconut in your own dialect. Wait, is it that you don't know how to speak Yoruba?
I don't know how to speak it.
No, you'll try. We'll forgive you. That's the fun part of this.
Can I really break the coconut?
No, we don't have coconut for this. So you just say breaking the coconut in your dialect. Awesome, nice. Thank you for coming, man. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.